and I'm reconvening to open session and calling to order the regular Board of Education meeting for Indian Prairie School District 204 on Tuesday, January 22nd, 2019. Jackie, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Karubas?
Here.
Mr. Razak?
Here.
Miss Peel?
Here.
Mr. Rising?
Here.
Miss Deming?
Here.
Miss Grover?
Here.
Miss Donahue?
Here.
We do have a quorum. Mr. Karubas, will you lead us in the pledge?
Sure. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I know we have several board salutes. Ms. Grover, would you start us out, please?
Sure. The board salutes Wabansie Valley Principal Jason Stipp and Matea Valley Principal Dr. Daryl Eccles, who were both honored over the weekend with a Chairman's Award from Aurora's Agape Connection. This award is given in recognition of persons who embrace the mission and vision of Dr. Martin Luther King. Congratulations, Jason and Daryl.
Thank you. Ms. Beal?
Try. Neuqua Valley Senior takes first place in Teen Distracted Driving Video Contest. AAA Chicago and the Naperville Police Department announced Neuqua Valley Senior Megan Kosak as the first place winner of this fall's Teen Distracted Driving Video Contest. Megan will receive $750 scholarship from the Naperville Police Department Fraternal Order of Police, Lodge 42. Her video, Speak Up, Say Something for Your Safety, is available for viewing online and was shown at Naperville area movie theaters during winter break. The second place winner was Neuqua Valley student Ryan Leshak, who will receive a $250 scholarship. Congratulations to Megan and Ryan.
Thank you. Mr. Karubas?
Did a good job. Neuqua Valley coaches receive state recognition. This one touches a little close to home for me with 3 swimmers and 1 at Neuqua. The board salutes 2 Neuqua Valley High School Coaches of the Year. Jason Neferatos was named Coach of the Year by the Illinois Swimming and Diving Association, and Mike Kennedy was named Coach of the Year by the Illinois Track and Cross Country Coaches Association. Congratulations, Jason and Mike.
Thank you. And Ms. Donahue?
The board salutes 7 District 204 students who are part of winning teams for the Google Education Group's Chicagoland Film Festival. The overall theme was Make a Change. There were 60 entries in the middle school category, with the winning team selected from Hill Middle School. Team members include Connor Kozlik, Ariel Schultz, Sharitha Joti. There were a total of 75 entries in the high school category, with the winning team selected from Matea Valley. Mustang teams included Anna Gutierrez, Mansi Lakshmi, Rebecca Kucher, and Jacqueline Friedman. Congratulations to all of those involved.
Thank you. Now we go to our student representative report. Today it's from Matea Valley High School. We have Joe Belmurray to give the report. Thanks, Joe, for braving the weather.
No problem. I feel like it's every time with this last minute. It was a snow day. Good evening. My name is Joe Balmuri, and I'm the student representative from Matea Valley High School. I'm very excited to be here tonight. Yesterday, Matea had over 300 students participate in the MLK Day of Service, where we recognized Dr. King's contributions by sending 13 different clubs and teams to 10 different locations in the community, including Murray Wilkinson Food Pantry, Hassett House, Wayside Cross, and Loaves and Fishes. I'd like to recognize all those that served and thank them for using their day off as an opportunity to make a difference. Dr. Eccles and everyone's favorite Marty the Mustang helped serve over 4,000 cups of hot chocolate to students during Hot Chocolate with Marty in December. Student government put in new seating for a seniors-only access area with help from the IDEA project. We hosted a successful 8th grade night last Thursday, getting to know our future Mustangs and their families. We're preparing to launch Mustang 30 in early February, a time meant for students to get any help they may need and use their resources during school time. Matea has over 1,500 students signed up for a free heart screening later this week through Young Hearts for Life. I'd like to recognize the Mattia Music Department for putting on yet another fantastic collage this past December. We had over 900 singers and musicians participate. Madrigal singers also put on a great production in December, bringing some holiday cheer in their performances. I want to congratulate senior guard Ethan Hellwig on being the first Mustang basketball player to reach the 1,000-point milestone. That's all I have for the January board report. Thanks, everyone, and until next time, go Mustangs.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you.
Be safe. We have no one signed up for public comment today, so we go to our consent agenda and superintendent report, and we will begin with our superintendent report.
Okay, and in lieu of the weather, I'm going to go quick. But my update really is mostly one of thank yous tonight. So I want to thank all the volunteers and our Indian Prairie Educational Foundation for coming out to support our VEX Robotics Tournament on this past snowy Saturday. It was a great day for our middle and high school teams, and along with those from across the state who came to join to compete. So we could not have held that event without their support. I also want to thank our volunteers who stepped up for our Young Hearts for Life program that will be this week at Mattia Valley on Thursday. That includes my husband, if he's watching. He's volunteering. If you're still interested and are continuing to take we're continuing to take volunteers for Neuqua Valley's screenings, which are scheduled for next week. So please look at our website and to get more information. And this is one of my last pleas to ask our parents to take the Illinois 5 Essentials Survey if they have not done that yet. The survey is only open until February 15th. And we, as a district, really do value hearing from our parents. We do use that information for our school improvement planning, but we do not get results back from the state unless we have 20% of our parents who respond to the survey. And that sounds like a low number, but we have buildings that we don't have that 20% yet. So we're urging all of our parents to take the time to complete the survey and give us their feedback. That's it.
Thank you. I now need a motion for our consent agenda that the Board of Education approve consent agenda items D through I.
I move that the Board of Education approve consent agenda items D through I as presented.
I have a motion. Is there a second? Motion and second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Jackie, please call the roll.
Mr. Carubus?
Yes.
Ms. Donahue? Ms. Deming?
Aye.
Mr. Rising?
Aye.
Mr. Razak?
Aye.
Ms. Peel?
Aye.
Ms. Grover?
Motion passes. I'm trying to get through my computer here, so bear with me a second. Okay, we now move to our action items. Our first action item is the approval of the 2019-2020 school calendar. Do I have a motion to approve the calendar?
I move that the Board of Education approve the 2019-2020 school calendar as presented.
And is there a second?
Second.
Okay, a motion and a second. Mr. Hillman?
Good evening, board members and Dr. Sullivan. Thank you for providing me a few minutes to discuss the calendar that you are being asked to approve. First, I would like to acknowledge that this is coming to you significantly later than we would have liked. The development of the calendar that you have before you is a collaborative effort between administration and the Teachers Association. The committee presents 2 calendars to staff for feedback. The calendar being presented to you is a slight modification of the calendar that was most preferred by staff members. This calendar does include 3 half-days of student attendance. The half-days for school improvement planning still allow us to work with our teachers on school improvement from a whole school perspective while meeting the guidelines that were modified by state code. The committee and the administration feel that this calendar will allow us to adapt to changes in state law that could take place this spring. The calendar being presented is our best attempt to effectively deal with the changes in state law, adhere to guidance from the Illinois State Board of Education, follow our contracts with the associations, and follow our guiding principles for the calendar development process. At this time, I ask that you approve the 2019-2020 calendar as presented. Please let me know if you have any questions that I might be able to answer.
Questions or comments?
I I did ask a question late about the Columbus Day, and I didn't see an email today because I didn't have a chance to check my emails, and now they're gone, so. Oh, that's right. I can't see them. That's correct. So could you just address that?
The Columbus Day piece about potentially changing it to Indigenous Peoples' Day. I believe that the feedback that we received from the board, while not universal, indicated that we potentially could wait until the state makes a change in the naming of that particular day. And the other component is that particular day is also referenced in state code as a day of non-attendance. So we just simply left it as a day of no school, with Columbus Day being the designation.
I'd like to make a quick comment.
Go ahead, Mark.
I'm just, I know kind of our hands were tied with everything that the state did, and we had to get a lot of clarification on it and delayed things and everything else. But I just remember, having been in IBPC many years ago, and maybe obviously this is not a discussion for tonight because we're just here to approve the calendar, but at some point as a board or the board in conjunction with administration, maybe like to set some parameters and some better guidelines on how we develop the calendar now that things maybe be a little more clear since the state has made their changes. Especially looking at an equity point of view and stuff like that. I know we always have to collaborate with our staff, but I was just thinking maybe we could set some more concrete policies and procedures around it, just because I think maybe we've got away from some things that we used to do in the past. That's all.
I think one of the things maybe, Mark, that we can do is that the board about 2 to 3 years ago set some parameters for the calendar committee to look at. Perhaps we can revisit those.
Mark, I will also add that there are already a couple bills pending that could change everything. That
course
just
there is.
changed. So I don't know that we have that clarity quite yet. I think we need to wait until the spring session and see what they're going to do with the school code related to the instructional day.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you.
And so I have a few comments. My first one is I appreciate the work that everyone does on a calendar. In my career, I served on the calendar committee more by hook and crook than volunteering. It's a very, very difficult job. It's a job that usually ends up with about 52% of the people feeling one way and 48% of the other. So you're always at a position in which somebody is going to be disappointed in how the calendar comes out. As we maybe look at the parameters and you guys develop the 2021 calendar, I would like the committee just to re-look at. As you walk through the community, you hear about starting times. And I know from the elementary parents, generally, you hear that they wish that the calendar that we would start later in the month of August. I also know that as I walk the community, the high school parents would like to even start earlier. But perhaps, we can at least try to get a handle and see if anything has changed or we're still at a 50-50 proposition. And then we have to do our best work. It's the same thing with the teachers. Teachers have indicated to me, and then I'm probably on both sides, that they enjoy the opportunity to pick a calendar. Others say those two choices they wouldn't pick on a bet, but they have to pick them. And so, again, I don't know where the mindset of the entire group is. I just get these competing comments sometimes, and I think it's a good time to maybe revisit it and relook at that also. Same thing with our religious holidays and equity. I do know, and I want to make this clear, that my guess is, and other people can comment, personally, I'm not happy with the half-days. And the and that's what I want to say, the administration isn't. This, and the lateness of this calendar was due to Illinois State Board of Education changing policy and guidelines of what a school day was. And so we are not the only district
Correct.
that are battling with trying to get a calendar out. I think Janet Torino has introduced legislation to try to redefine what a school day is. And hopefully that will come to fruition, because really, at least on my part, I'm convinced that no one on the administration, at least, who's making the recommendation for a calendar, thinks a half-school day is a good idea, either for teachers in terms of staff development or for our parents who have to come up with childcare kinds of arrangements for a half-day. So we hope, and that's why we're not in a two-year process, we're kind of waiting a little bit, again, that we can get some clarification, perhaps make more sense out of a calendar.
I would agree with you, especially the religious holidays. I think it's something we have to have a conversation about. I think it does have to come from the community first. So I think that is something we need to help facilitate. If I could go back to my Indigenous holiday, or Indigenous Peoples' Day, I feel strongly that we can overrule the state code, and that's because other districts have done it. I don't think it needs to happen this time around, but I would like to see us have that discussion at this table rather than kind of getting a consensus from feedback that we're not all aware of, so we could have a good discussion around it. I think my son is 19, and in 5th grade, he came home to tell me how much he's been learning about how horrible our Discover of America was. And so I don't think it's new news to our students. It shouldn't be new news to our parents. And I think we're kind of behind the times, especially when we are talking about equity in this district and how important that is. So that's my 2 cents on that.
Others?
I'd like to have a discussion of the calendar too, regarding what the community wants and naming Columbus Day and thinking about other religious holidays or you know, how to incorporate them into the calendar. So I would like to have a discussion of the calendar 2020, 2021.
Others?
I'm looking forward to and I had indicated this, I'm looking forward to us getting some clarification, and once the state is able to give us that, so that we can have a multiple year calendar, so that parents and the community can plan vacation, and I think that eases whatever we decide as far as when school starts, as long as there's the ability to plan for it. I think that certainly helps.
I will be voting to support this calendar, but I am not happy with it. It seems so easy, something as easy as a calendar. Why is it so difficult? And every year I've been sitting here, I'm like, oh, it's just one thing. And we pick one thing and it's an issue, start times, you know, polling places. And every year we struggle with it, and every year there seems to be new struggles with it. So I envision this being a perpetual problem, but I think if we change some of the focus to, you know, to get away from some of these rules bring it back to the students, I think we'll get to where we need to be. And obviously, we got the half-day issue we're working through, but that's not a good environment to learn in. That doesn't work. And so it's, you know, I support it, but it's not where we as a district strive for excellence. So we need to improve it.
Anyone else? Jackie, I'm going to call the question. Can you please call the roll?
Mr. Carubus?
Yes.
Miss Peel?
Aye.
Miss Grover?
Yes.
Miss Donahue?
Aye.
Mr. Rising?
Aye.
Miss Deming?
Aye.
Mr. Razak?
Aye. Motion passes. Our next action item is the approval of the Board of Education 2019 Alliance Leadership Summit estimated travel expenses. By state law, the board needs to approve all expenses for board staff development. There's an Alliance Leadership Summit scheduled for February 26th, 27th. The Alliance Leadership Summit includes the Illinois Association of School Administrators, the Illinois Association of School Boards, the Illinois Association of School Business Officers, and the Illinois Principals Association. They have this Alliance Summit every 2 years, in which people hear from educational experts, discuss educational leadership issues, and engage in the legislative process. 2 members, myself and Ms. Deming, I think, are attending the summit. And so I need a motion to approve Board of Education expenses.
I move that the Board of Education approve the Board of Education 2019 Alliance Leadership Summit estimated travel expenses as presented, so long as you fix the calendar. I strike that last
I'm
part.
going to amend his motion.
Yeah. Could you amend that, please?
I do.
Aye on the calendar?
My motion stops at as presented. Thank you.
Okay, great.
Second.
Wow, I have a motion and a second. Any other further discussion?
Not sure what I'm approving there. No, I'm kidding.
That Susan and I can go to the summit.
Yeah.
Nothing else. Hearing no further discussion, Jackie, please call the roll.
Mr. Carubus?
Yes.
Miss Peel?
Aye.
Mr. Rising?
Aye.
Miss Deming?
Aye.
Miss Donahue?
Aye.
Miss Grover?
Aye.
Mr. Razak?
Aye, motion passes. Final action item is the approval of the second reading of policy 2:80, board member oath and conduct. Do I have a motion to approve policy 2: I have it here as 2, which one is that? Just so I'm clear.
It's 280. It's 2:80.
Okay, to
I'm
approve
fixing it right
policy, policy 2:80.
I move that the board approve the second reading of policy 2:80, board member oath and conduct.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion. Mr. Carubus?
Yeah.
I will be voting no
Wait.
on the approval of this, and it gets back to what I discussed prior, the further swearing part of it. It's an oath. It should be short and sweet. It's the short and sweet paragraph is what every other office holder in the state of Illinois swears to. And then for school boards, they ask that we further swear. So a lot of this further swearing items are subsumed into what we solemnly swear. And so I think it is extra duplicative, and I think that the school code allows us to do that because we need to take an oath that substantially complies with this section.
So Justin, is this potentially something then that you might consider us addressing, putting forth a new recommendation for IASB?
I'd probably say no on that. I'd probably spend our political capital somewhere else.
I was going to ask, is this a resolution committee thing?
Well, that's why I was just asking, I mean, because you feel strongly about it. How do we ultimately look to resolve it then?
I think at some point we need to push back a little bit, and if we do that one step at a time,
Okay.
we can do that here. I don't think there's a penalty for not further swearing.
So can you move to, make our swearing in only that first paragraph?
Sure.
No.
I think
This
we
is
should
second
address,
reading.
yeah, we
Oh.
have
need
to
to
start over.
address this one.
Okay.
And then we may have to take it back and relook at it and start it over again with the process.
So if we decided we could, once we deal with this tonight, then
Yes,
we could take it, even though it's not up for another discussion, quote, until next year.
well,
but
if we
could-
vote no, then we're at the point of reworking the policy.
Okay,
If we vote yes, we still can relook at the policy.
okay.
We'd have to resolve this before April, though, when we have to, or May, or whatever it is, when we have to swear someone in, right? So,
I would think so, yes.
So we have time, but we just need to.
We might have some further swearing before.
right.
I don't encourage that. Others? I'm going to call the vote. Jackie, please call the roll.
Ms. Deming?
Aye.
Ms. Donahue?
No.
Ms. Grover?
So, before I vote, I do, like, my question was last session, all that other stuff is what is in we swearing it in our district goals, and it's part of it. But as we can re-look at this issue again, I will vote aye.
Mr. Rising?
So, yeah, I just need a little clarification here, too. I'm going to go along with the Illinois compiled statute, but I do think we need to look at this further, so I'll be voting aye.
Mr. Razak?
Aye.
Mr. Karubas?
No.
Ms. Peel?
I'm actually okay with the further swearing, so aye.
So the motion passes 5 ayes, 2 nays. We now go to our discussion, and we begin with our internal auditor.
Good evening, board members. Last board meeting, we had the external auditors here reporting to you. Tonight, we have our internal auditors here. We've got Matt Barron and Don Shaw from Lauterbach and Ammon. You've got Mr. Shipley in front of you again, our comptroller, who's working on his CSBO, and he's a good-looking guy, and he's going to be in front of you next week, or next board meeting as well, so get used to it, Mr. Shipley. With that, I'll turn it over so that they can talk about their work and where we're going from here.
Thank you, Jay. Good evening, everyone. I'm Matt Barron. I'm the partner that oversaw the internal audit project here at the district, and this is Don Shaw, the manager that completed most of the work. First, I want to thank you for the opportunity to be able to complete this project for the district. Both Don and I are both residents of District 204. I have 2 kids at Brookdale Elementary and a third one going there next year, so any opportunity to be able to provide some service to the district, to help with operations as we look out of the future. I truly appreciated that opportunity. Also want to thank Jay and Matt for all their hard work and efforts and help throughout this project. Without them, we wouldn't be able to organize everybody throughout the project to be able to get this done. So what this is with an internal audit project, what it is, we did a deep dive into the internal controls, the processes, and the procedures of some areas that were identified by Jay and Matt. So as we came out here, we wanted to look at some of the more risky areas at the district to see what type of internal control improvements we can have during the year. And what those were that we identified for this past calendar year were the P cards and the student activity funds. So at that initial planning meeting, we identified those. We came back with a plan of how we were going to test those with their help and collaboration. What that entailed was we did sample selections of the different school districts and also throughout the district office, many sample selections to go through these areas, and also interviews of staff that are a part of those internal control processes. Out of that process, we ended up coming up with various recommendations that were included within that report that we provided to you. We had recommendations that were both for the P cards and for the student activity funds. As was noted in the report, and I want to reiterate it again, none of the recommendations that we see here we would consider to be material weaknesses, like very significant problems here at the district, nor did we find fraud throughout our deep dive into these internal control areas. Purely what we are providing with these recommendations, they're intended to be improvements, recommendations to help improve the processes here that are currently in place. Matt had also provided some management response that he had included within the executive summary as well, that I know he's going to go over at this point.
Good evening. As Matt mentioned, I do just want to quickly cover two areas that we put in the management response and that the business office has already been working on implementing to help address many of the recommendations. So the first area that the internal audit identified was that historically our training of school office staff has been somewhat limited. This has resulted in inconsistent practices and limited oversight for a lot of our school office staff. And these are the school secretaries and other individuals who handle many financial responsibilities, including working with the procurement cards and the student activity funds. So beginning with this school year, the business office has began offering training during school institute and school improvement days to these secretaries. We're also working to develop some self-guided professional development that would be available through the district's PD on-demand software. We're working to reorganize and just kind of better organize a lot of the resources that are already available on the district's intranet. Right now, the focus on our training has been primarily school secretaries, but over time, we envision this to be professional development that can be used with our administrators, some of our club activity sponsors, and other individuals throughout the district who have purchasing responsibilities. We are also in the final stages of enhancing our Amazon business platform. Our schools and departments currently utilize Amazon for a wide variety of purchases. Historically, these purchases are done using the district's procurement card and relying on an individual's personal Amazon account. Over the past year, we have tested using a district-wide Amazon business account and are now rolling that platform out district-wide. We're working with Amazon to directly link that Amazon business website with the district's procurement software. So we would no longer be relying on individual Amazon accounts or procurement cards to make those purchases. We'd be making all Amazon purchases with purchase orders. This gives the business office greater visibility and control over who can initiate or approve a purchase. And it also has the added benefit of taking a lot of those transactions off those procurement cards as well. So overall, we believe we are in a good position to continue to improve our business practices and controls, and I do want to thank the internal auditors for their help in identifying these areas for improvement and working to brainstorm some potential solutions. And I think that's the conclusion of our presentation, so if there are any questions for either myself or our internal auditors.
I just wanted to thank Jay and Matt for doing this, because this is great information, and you know, I thank the gentleman from Lauterbach and Amon, because I think it's wonderful when we can, well, thank goodness there's no fraud or anything like that in our services, but you know, anytime that we can look at where we can make efficiencies and improvements and apply that additional oversight, I mean, I think it just improves us as a whole as a district. And, you know, we know that we're spread thin as a district, but when we can get this feedback, hopefully we can put those things in place that isn't a burden to staff and just helps us from an oversight perspective more. So I just wanted to thank Jay and his staff.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing, and you see so many things on TV and stuff, horror stories about things that happen in different districts, so it was really great to see the list here and that there was no big outage that caused us great alarm, so I was happy about that. How often do you expect to run an internal audit?
I've been in the district for 30 years, and this is the first time that we've done
Is
it
it?
that I'm
Okay.
aware of.
Uh-huh.
And in my 7 years in the, 7 plus 2, 9 years in the business office, this is the first time that I've been aware that we've done it. So it's been good. It's validated a lot of what we think is going on. It's helped us understand some of the areas where we're really good and some of the areas where we need to tighten up. It also shows us that, you know, we're as lean as we are as a school district and an administrative staff. And we have to rely on our schools and really be a, you know, site-based process because the business office is smaller. Those folks work real hard to do a good job and to follow our lead. If we were a little larger, we'd be able to provide the professional development and the training on a more ongoing basis. I think that would be a really big plus.
I actually, Jay, kind of my comments related to some of the ending comments that you had. I wanted to not only thank you and Matt, but I also wanted to thank our buildings, especially our school secretaries, who obviously have quite a bit of responsibility. So very large kudos to them, especially in light of that there hasn't always been that professional development. So I'm very pleased that we're going to be able to provide them some resources to really help them feel even more confident in what they're doing, because they do have a lot of responsibility. So kudos to them for doing such an excellent job, and I know that they will, I would assume they will really appreciate that attention to helping ensure that they're as confident as possible in the things that they're doing.
I've got to give a lot of credit to Matt on that. He's put a lot of effort in putting some training in place for the secretaries, training that all of them appreciate and have attended, and some of them have come and really taken advantage of it. And I think he's really worked with his team to make sure that they're comfortable presenting in front of large groups, and that's really been an effort that he's kicked off since this fall.
Thank you, because that's a great opportunity for them, and I'm certain that helps them feel very, very good about the job that they're doing and the importance of their job.
I kind of gleaned from your comment that doing an internal control audit about once every 20 to 25 years is not necessarily best practice.
Okay, okay.
That I'm aware of.
We had it, but at one time, and as I mentioned to you guys, we had an internal auditor position.
Well, we did have an internal auditor
Right.
position that was eliminated a decade ago.
So,
with the
I mean, that was
procurement
part,
manager and
right.
No, and
an accounts
I'm,
payable clerk.
I'm not questioning, I'm not questioning what we do, just so you know. What I'm questioning is what in the business department should we look at next? Because we run a multi-million-dollar operation here, and it's good practice to really look at ourselves every so often in order that we avoid some of those horror stories. So,
Jay and I, in relation to the external audit presentation we had last week, we did have a overall very positive external audit report as well, but they did identify one area with some of the bank reconciliations and some of our practices over sheeting checks to the state where we thought we could bring in the internal auditors to kind of do that sort of deeper review. So that would be one area that we've identified. Our current agreement with Lauterbach does allow for them to perform those services if we want to going forward. And then we're obviously open if there are any risk areas that come up with our meeting with them, either that they identified as part of this work that they did out at our schools, or obviously they work with many other school districts and bring a wealth of knowledge and as well. So we'll be working with them to maybe identify one additional area as well, and then hopefully do a similar presentation this time next year.
Great, thanks. Mr. Karubas, I'm sorry I cut you off.
No, you had a good point to make. Thank you very much. I mean, some people are afraid to sometimes look at themselves and say, we've got some areas of improvement, and we all can do that. And so it's a very positive process, looking at areas where we can make things better, even with our limited resources. And so, I applaud the effort. Thanks for taking the step and taking a critical look. I think overall good results. I mean, the areas I think we're talking about are on the fringes. So I think there's nothing glaring there. It was very, very good to see and hear. From a board policy standpoint, I'd like to get consensus, if we can, and if we need to provide administration with direction. Board Policy 4:55 that deals with the use of credit and procurement cards. One of the sections says the board will annually adopt a procurement card authorization schedule, setting limits for the authorized amount of individual transactions and the authorized monthly total for cardholders as the board determined appropriate. We haven't annually adopted a schedule. We've delegated that to administration, and administration's done a good job of dealing with that. This is another instance of state law asking us to have a policy, asks us to do something that either we can consciously decide to do or not. I don't think it's much more to add to our regular annual review to ask for us to adopt a schedule every year. So I think we should more closely follow this policy and ask administration to present a schedule on a yearly basis.
Any other comments?
I just, that doesn't sound like that would change much of a practice. It's just that we were approving the schedule.
That's right. Yeah, I don't think it's a big work. They have the schedule.
Right. I'm on board with that.
I think, anybody opposed to that? No,
It's good
it's good practice. Thank you, Mr.
Well, and we're going to be having some, not to shed light on this, but some changes in that department in the next couple of years, so it's probably a good thing to put into practice.
Okay,
Can I
And-
ask
sure.
a question to them? Who determines, who gets the purchasing power? Does all staff have a card, or how does it work? Can you explain some of that? Because I don't know who.
Sure, that's it's a good question. We, as a district, have about 150 procurement cards issued throughout the district. Generally, that our elementary principals have one card, and then they have one for their activity cards. So our elementary schools have generally 2 cards. Our middle schools usually have 2 to 3 cards. And then our high schools do have a significant amount of procurement cards, and they use them for a variety of activities within the athletics and the student activities, as well as for department purchases, such as the fine arts department or the fax classes. So science classes have them. So we have about 15 to 20 procurement cards, I'd say, at each of the high schools. And then we do have a handful that are managed here at central office. And the limits vary between the cards, so most of our cards have fairly small limits between maybe $3,000 to $5,000 each month. We do have some of the cards that are managed here that do have higher limits.
And are most of them, are we trying to go towards Amazon for most of the cards?
Yeah, our hope is that this Amazon business platform will take a lot of that or all of that Amazon activity off of those cards, and at that time we could maybe review changing either the number of cards or some of those limits, but right now that's not the plan for the short term. I think we'll have to see how this shakes out before we start reducing our use of those cards.
Like positions have the same limits, so high school principals across the district have the same limits. Middle school, elementary school, LMC directors, department heads, all the same limits. They have an opportunity if they're going to University of Illinois for a band concert and they need more money for hotel rooms because they're taking 2 large bands from the district to bump their procurement cards. It takes authorization from Matt and I to say okay, and then we adjust those back down because of the convenience of being able to get a room on a procurement card and a short notice because all of a sudden more kids are attending the band trip.
And just as a matter of note, just from a public transparency standpoint, you guys do a wonderful job at providing that information to us. So we do see that, and you do a great job of answering any particular questions that we may have on a particular item. So we do see those, and just from a transparency standpoint.
Do you want to speak to, you have on there, a recommendation is the centralized accounting software, but we have 2 high schools using one and 1 high school using the other. Can you kind of give us some background on that and what your plan is for that?
When we were in the process of years ago, before we had our current accounting software, the software we had didn't handle activity accounts very well, and the 2 high schools, our 2 older high schools, had their own product. And when we transitioned to our new product, it was just when Mattia Valley High School was coming on board, so we took that opportunity to train that staff and put them on that platform. We've talked to the other schools about transitioning to that. The effort and the amount of time that it would take to do that would be very disruptive, and we haven't been able to find the schedule at the school or within our office to make that transition. But that's something that we've been talking about for several years, is to get those other 2 high schools to move towards it. Every other school in the district is on our current product.
So is that something you're prioritizing, or are you kind of just still waiting on that?
It's something that we're prioritizing, but it's something that we don't see being done within the near future. It's probably next year or the year after that. We do work with both those schools and review all of their documents and their files regularly.
Jay, could there be any type of budgetary advantage to being on that same platform that we hope to take advantage of?
I don't think much, to be honest with you. We've been on our current product for quite some time, and at some point in the near future, the board and the administration should take a look at whether or not our current software that we use for the district is still serving us as well as we could, or if there's a better product out there. That would be a substantial expense.
That's why we haven't done it.
That's why, yeah, we've talked about it 5 years ago, but it would be well over $1 million to implement that.
Other comments or questions? Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Next item is we have an Indian Prairie Foundation update, Educational Foundation update. Welcome.
Welcome, Alicia, to your first board meeting.
Thank you so much.
You're not going to join her? She's all by herself.
They're here. They're our moral support.
Thank you. Perfect. Well, good evening, everyone. I'm Elisha Johnson, the Executive Director of the Indian Prairie Educational Foundation. Thank you so much for the invitation. I'm excited to be here. And I just wanted to extend as well some thank yous. We are so happy to have a great relationship, not only with the district, but with the board. And want to thank Mike Razak personally for being a part of that board, Dr. Sullivan for being part of the board and being very active, and our newest member to come over from the school board to help out and join Lori Donahue. So I know Mike rolled off in June, and I think Lori, you came on in July. So I love that integration, and it's just been great. And I tell you, anytime I ask for a volunteer, Lori's always raising her hand. So we truly appreciate that. So again, we appreciate the opportunity to be here. And I am honored and just feel wonderful about being involved with an organization that in its 30-year history has been able to partner with the district and give back over $5 million into different programs, supporting the students, different programs, and the educators. So unbelievable. So looking forward to giving you all an update tonight and sharing a bit about our vision and things to come. So one of the first things I want to just share about one of the programs that we absolutely love is our teacher grants program. So we just concluded our fall cycle, and wow, we had a great response. And one of my job is so fun, but one of the best parts is actually getting to read the applications and the innovation and the creativeness, the ideas that come in from our wonderful teachers out there, just amazing. So we had 75 applications for this particular cycle, which is well above what we've ever had in the past. So I give kudos to the teams out there who really are being creative and thinking outside of the box and going above and beyond the curriculum to stimulate and just bring a great environment, a great learning environment to their students. So over the last, since 1996, the program has been in existence. And during that time frame, we've given over $1.4 million back in teacher grants. So that is absolutely amazing. And we are, after this last cycle, when we saw so many grants come in, we were able to award 41 for a little over $48,000, almost $49,000. And if we really want to make sure and take a cognizant look and see if there is a trend of additional grants coming in. And if that trend continues, then we certainly want to be creative and look for other ways to fund. We've had some private donations, so we're happy about that. We're working with the district as we analyze and take a look at the different needs and the grant ideas. Are there different ways that we can approach the requests throughout the district? Are there ways that we can approach different organizations, industries, to find additional funding for those? So stay tuned for that. You know, one of the other programs that I just absolutely love, even prior to joining the foundation, I'm a 204 parent, and I loved getting the e-news about the A+ awards. So we have started off the year strong with our A+ awards and feel very, very fortunate to once again have our corporate sponsor of Wells Fargo Advisors. We've had presentations at Bilta, at Granger, at Gombert, and had a lot of fun. Lori, you've been able to come out to a lot of those. I think, Natasha, you actually even came out to one. So we love having board members come out. We welcome you and invite you to any of these presentations. It's always a fun time. This is our 5th year for this particular program. We've seen over 40 recipients, over 600 nominations. And again, what a privilege it is that I get to actually read the nominations. It's a very fun part. And it's, I tell you, it is sometimes a tough decision to make because there are so many wonderful nominations that do come in. We have an absolutely wonderful committee that goes through that and gives us feedback. We've been able to, with our wonderful sponsorship, award over $30,000 in to each of these schools that are A+ award winners. So I do want to make you aware that we have a very, very special January A+ award coming up. So keep a watch for that. You'll absolutely love that. So all of these programs that the foundation provides would not be made possible without funding. One of our largest fundraiser, Team IPEF, we're thrilled to report our largest campaign in our 30-year history. So we are very excited to see that although we didn't quite meet our goal of $204,000, we came very, very close at almost $202,000. So let me give you a little perspective about that too. So the race took place in October. I came on as the executive director in September, so a month before. And here we are setting records with our fundraising. We are setting records with the number of participants that we have, 519 participants. All 34 schools participate. We have a record number of spirit squads this year with 17. And the growth has been absolutely unbelievable. Fifth year, our first year we had 31 runners. This year, 519. So my point is, when you look at that timeline, me coming on 1 month before and still being able to hit these goals and break these records, it was all due to an amazing group of volunteers, an amazing group of directors, and a lot of support behind the scenes. So I'm very grateful for that, and I think it speaks volumes to the foundation, to the community, to our directors. I do want to give a shout out to Shelly Menendez. She's sitting over here in the crowd, who not only is one of our directors who's extremely involved in the foundation, she also is a runner. And Shelly, how many years? 4, 3, 2, 3 years. And really, she and Stacy Johnson, Cindy Cozy, who is our administrative assistant, so many other volunteers really kept the momentum going. In order for us to not only reach many of our goals, but to break some records. So really excited about that. And plans are already in place and meetings have been, we've had meetings about 2019, so we're excited about that as well. So the funding is amazing and absolutely necessary, but as a new director, kind of looking from the outside in, one of the other large advantages that I absolutely loved about this program is something that's almost esoteric. Maybe can't even be measured, but it's that sense of the community and the togetherness and the teamwork that this particular event gave an opportunity to shine. I mean, when you think about it, it's really a unique event that brings so many people from across the district together, all working for one goal. You've got kiddos from kindergarten, we've got students in all the different levels, we have staff, we have community members, we have parents, we've got school board members, there you are. Everybody's coming together, and we greatly appreciate that. I love this picture, and I think it speaks volumes. Yes, I know it was very cold, and it was very early, and I'm very sorry. But the foundation, the entire organization truly appreciates all of the participation, and we look forward to that next year as well. And I do want to remind you, October 20th, 2019 is the date, so don't forget that, and please put that on your calendar. So we also were happy to have the majority of all of the kid participants in the Kids Marathon from District 204, 347 students signed up. We unfortunately had a blizzard that day. That was true. But the kids that came out were troopers. We had 9 mascots. Dr. Sullivan was there. We had several board members there helping out. And it was truly a blizzard, but they persevered, and it was a great time. So right now, we're finishing up our very fun Big Check Tour, where after all this hard work, we go out to the schools and we present the check to them. So what's great about this program is half of everything that is raised goes right back directly into the schools, and they decide how to use those funds. Over $85,000 was earned through their hard work, with another $11,450 being earned through some of our creative prize money categories and winning those types of things, for a total of almost $97,000 going back to the schools directly. And in the 5-year history, over $301,000 has been raised through Team IPEF. So we will be very excited to see what 2019 has to bring. Some other wonderful projects and programs with which we're involved around the community. I know we've spoke about, or the Young Hearts for Life has been mentioned tonight. It's a program that we sponsor and very proud to be sponsors of. 6th time it's being offered since 2009. 28,000 free heart screenings have been conducted. The first one starts this week at Mattia, with other locations coming up in the rest of the year. IPEF is also proud to be associated and supportive of the Fine Arts Festival, which is scheduled for May 18th this year. Of course, our wonderful Back on Track program, very proud to be a part of that, and working alongside 360 Youth Services, not only provided in the high school level, but also the middle school level now. So really happy about that. Our Amazing Kid Essentials program, focusing and making sure not leaving any child behind, really focusing on those kids through this program who are a little less fortunate, as well as Valley Runway, making sure that every student has an opportunity to feel special during their prom time, whether it be a dress or a tux. Also the robotics program, which Dr. Sullivan mentioned. I had the opportunity to go out my first robotics tournament this weekend, and wow, I was amazed. I had no idea the level of talent and expertise with these robots and these kids and the enthusiasm. It was fantastic. So we're proud to sponsor that, and you can see we've got a couple more tournaments coming up. So we're at a certain level, and we are looking to not only expand but grow. And with that, we're taking a step back and just looking at our overall program. We're so appreciative of some of our internal district programs, including one for the kids and Check the Box, but meeting internally to strategize, to maybe bring a breath of fresh air to some of these programs. Also, Dr. Sullivan brought a fantastic idea from one of her colleagues in the Illinois area about a teacher tribute program. And it makes perfect sense. And Dr. Sullivan, we actually have received a couple of different donations at the end of the year from parents who are making these donations to the foundation in honor of different staff members and teachers. So just on their own, it's fantastic. So Dr. Sullivan had learned of this program, so it's certainly something that we would like to implement as soon as possible through our website. So it gives teachers and people in the community the ability to make a donation directly to the foundation on behalf. So that'll be good.
Never above stealing a good idea.
That's right. Form of flattery, correct? And then also just looking at creating a new fundraising program to really start at the grassroots level and to supplement Team IPF, something upon which we can grow over time. And then also to look at enhancing our email marketing plea campaign. Also increasing our donor recognition program. We also, through our growth program, would like to focus and strengthen our current partnerships that we're appreciative for, the City of Naperville, City of Aurora, some other public and private foundation. And then we're pleased that we have several new corporations in the area with whom we're working and collaborating on some new grant opportunities. So happy about that. And then continuing to cultivate new opportunities, proud to share with you that we just received a $5,000 grant for robotics from the DART Foundation. Also utilizing our 204 alumni database, capitalizing on our current sponsorship, and expanding business development. We also want to take a look at our current communication program and find new ways to improve and expand upon that through our social media, our email and mail campaigns, and also our marketing, event presence, etc. We also are pleased to inform you that we do have 2 new board directors that will be joining us in February. Kim White is from the area, and she's the executive director of the Community Career Center, so she'll bring a lot of nonprofit experience to our board. And then also Heidi Holm, who's already been out on the big check tour with me. Almost everywhere I go, she's there. So it's been fantastic support, and she's jumped right in, and she's been a Team IPEF volunteer for the last couple of years. And then we're also just filling our pipeline, actively recruiting for additional board directors. We are, I feel like I've mentioned before, very fortunate to have an extremely active board. And I never feel like I don't have to hesitate to pick up the phone or send an email and ask for assistance or help. Everyone's willing to roll up their sleeves and volunteer. However, there are some of the larger events like Team IPEF, et cetera, where we can use some additional help, along with wanting to improve our marketing. So we're actively looking for volunteers who might be experts in marketing, have a big background in marketing, et cetera. Also looking at possibly utilizing additional resources through some internship opportunities through local colleges as well as through our own high schools. So, appreciate the opportunity once again. We are extremely excited about the future and the year coming up, and are looking forward to continuing our partnership. Are there any questions?
Questions, comments?
I love what I'm hearing. Great job.
Thank you.
Work a mic. I love what I'm hearing. Great job. I've got an affinity for IPEF, and I love the energy. I love the excitement. I love the community aspect that you were talking about with the team IPEF. That we don't really have a lot of district unifying events, especially that run across the different levels. Because we are such a big district, and there's different departments and programs and interest. So it's nice to have that community aspect of it. Yes, the fundraising helps, and yes, but to have a centralizing event is monumental. That's very important. And just to offer some perspective, because it seems like I continue to always do that. When I was on the foundation, there was a decision to be made on whether to join the run. And our choice was to sign up for 12 slots or the unlimited slots. And there was a lot of hesitancy. And we just made it to decide to go the unlimited. And I think that's pretty telling, because that's where the foundation made some steps to decide we need to grow, and we're going to do it, instead of just capping us saying, we're just going to do 12 runners this year. It says, no, we're going to see how far we go. And that was risky, because we had to buy it. It might not work. I'm not sure if it's going to pan out. And it panned out in spades. So thank you much. Good work.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Others? Go ahead.
Sorry. I wanted to ask a question. First of all, I want to say thank you to IPF, because I think almost every kid has experienced all the benefits, or one of the benefits you have, whether it's robotics or fine arts festival, or I was not familiar with the Back on Track program. Could you explain what that is?
Certainly. The Back on Track program is a program that the district partners with 360 Youth Services. So to really identify, like I'd mentioned, it started at the high school level, and working closely with the counselors within the schools to really identify those kids that might be at risk, whose social and emotional well-being might be impeding their ability to be successful in school. So working with them to implement a program of counseling, whether it be one-on-one or in small groups, to really address that, to help them through different types of issues that they have in order to prepare them, because as we know, whether it's in high school or as you transition, whether it's to full-time employment or college, there's always going to be stress-related issues, et cetera. So being able and giving them that preparation and that education on how to address that the best that they can in order to find success, no matter what career path they take, is really the emphasis of the particular program. And thus far, it's been extremely successful and absolutely great results. The counseling is conducted within the high schools, and the program decided to do that just based on the ease of logistics. You know, some of the students might not be able to make it to another location, so just being able to have it there ensured that there would be attendance from the particular students, and also just being comfortable within the environment.
So these are outside clinical services. They're not services that our staff can provide, but they're housed within our schools. So it's the ease of, instead of referring someone out, we've partnered with 360 to bring their people in to our schools. And it also has made a much easier connection for families to get outside clinical services. We've had success getting parents and families into some services that they really need that we've not been successful with in the past. So it's been very, very successful, enough that we expanded it to middle school.
Being a senior member of the district,
Is that
except
what you're
maybe,
calling yourself?
except maybe for Justin, who's been around longer, but I've been since 1991, and as principal, benefited from the Indian Prairie Foundation with its programs. What I'm most grateful for is that we work in partnership for the benefit of kids. And I'm also grateful for how the foundation has adapted over time to the needs of our students. Clearly, our district now has more students who need academic help, who need social help, and who need financial help. And I know the board has targeted, you know, both social emotional learning and equity as two things that we need to continue to work at. And seeing programs like Back on Track, you know, Kids Essential and Valley Runway has been really helpful in starting to help our students. You know, our mission is to inspire all students to achieve their greatest potential, and we need help. We need help from the community, and we need help from the foundation. So my commercial is, I don't know if you know what that check the box is. This is it. You're helping kids. You're helping kids in music, you're helping kids in robotics, you're helping those kids who need additional resources in order for the district to do its work in an exemplary manner. So I would check that box, and if you didn't have $25, I would give $5, because that would help also. So make sure that you consider that, because if you don't know what this is it. And it benefits kids to, it's incalculable how we help our students. So thank you for all you do.
Alicia, do you know how often people do check the box? Like what percentage?
No, Lloyd, that's a good question. I don't know the percentage. Certainly something I could get back to you. We were just talking about that at a planning meeting. Oh, see, I have our treasurer over here. Chair, so, perfect. Run with an entourage, right? 18%? Is that right?
It's low.
Mhm. Right, and so that was one area that we did identify and mention that it's certainly an area for a great opportunity for growth. So we want to breathe some life into that program, and at our planning meeting last night, we came up with some good ideas. So we definitely will be working on that, and I feel very confident that we'll see a rise in that percentage.
I have one more question.
Sure.
So the foundation gives a lot of grants, and has the foundation ever considered giving grants to 204 students to pursue teaching careers and then they come back here to teach?
Oh, that's a great idea. I don't know, with my short history, I don't know if we've ever been presented with an opportunity like that or a suggestion. In my short tenure of 4 months, no, but certainly could have been presented in the past. But that's a really interesting idea. I'm aware of that within like universities and things like that, healthcare, but. But it's an interesting idea. We should investigate more.
Other comments or questions?
I'd just like to say welcome. This is our first time to really hear from you, and you had some big. Sorry, I turned it off because I was coughing. But thank you for coming. We really appreciate it. You had big shoes to fill, but it's very apparent from the presentation. You are filling it well, and you're taking what has been started down the road and you're making it better and improving it, and really impressed. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And last but not least, of course, is our communications department update.
We are so happy to see such a packed crowd. And a special shout out to Todd for staying till the end.
Turn the lights off.
Communications department is already.
I know.
Please don't take it personally.
No, we're not. We're not. Thank you for the opportunity to provide you with an update from the communications department. I'm joined this evening by Greg Gibson, our lead web developer, and Lisa Schwartzberry, who is our community relations coordinator, and our media producer is in the back at the controls, as always, Clayton Urbanik. Most of our work is done to support district goal number 4, which is to be student and community focused. We measure that goal by adding an additional question to the Illinois 5 Essentials Survey, which Dr. Sullivan just referenced. In 2018, we had 30% of our parents take that survey, and 94.4%, as you see, gave us a grade of an A or a B. That is an amazingly high number. We really anticipated that we would kind of plateau around 92% if you look at the data trend from the years previous. I think we were all pleasantly surprised that we increased by 2 points. As Dr. Sullivan referenced, our parents are taking that survey right now. They have until February 15th, so for any of them watching, if you'd consider giving us an A or a B, I would greatly
Preferably
A or B, it's okay. Our department collects a lot of data related to our work in order to evaluate and assess our work. This is just a snapshot of some of the data points that we collected from the 17-18 school year. We added 1,000 more Twitter followers last year. The 2 most popular tweets last year, the #1 tweet was actor Keegan Allen visited McCarty Elementary School. I admit I had to Google Keegan Allen because I had never heard of Keegan Allen, but apparently a lot of people have heard of him. That tweet was seen 69,000 times. The second most popular tweet was the ever popular Snow Day tweet, which was seen 56,000 times.
We understand she's getting followers as we speak.
Yes. So does this actor Keegan know that he beat the Snow Day?
That is an accomplishment in this district, for sure, for sure. When we looked at the data, though, what really struck us were the numbers related to our videos. Last year was the very first year that we were on the YouTube platform. We had previously been on Vimeo. One of the reasons that we wanted to shift to being on YouTube was to reach a larger audience. And if you take a look at the video views, I think we accomplished that. We doubled our video views from 34,000 to 68,000 in that shift. And we did not double the amount of videos that we produced. We went from 44 videos produced to 53. The popularity of online videos is really a trend seen nationally. 55% of people say they watch online videos every day. I don't know if you guys, where you guys fall within that. But according to Cisco, by 2021, online videos will account for 82% of all internet traffic. We were kind of curious what devices people use to watch our videos. You can see people watch us on a computer, 51%, but mobile devices are at 42%. We were kind of surprised that that wasn't higher than national average, is around 55%. And Greg will provide you with some information about how people access us using a mobile device. This was the first time that we could get to this kind of data through YouTube, so we're sort of curious to see what that number is going to look like next year. Hands down, the most popular video on our YouTube channel is A Day in the Life of an Elementary Student. It was produced and posted in July of 2017. It has had, that says 28,000, but Clayton just told me right before the meeting, since we put together these slides, just in the last 2 weeks, it's up to 29,000. So there are 29,000 views of this video. 80% are from the US, but 20% are from the countries that you see listed on the screen. And that really speaks, I think, to the global platform and accessibility of being on YouTube. We always like to give you guys a sneak preview of one of the videos that we're going to share with the community. Tonight we have a really great story from something that took place at Crone Middle School.
I just experienced a wheelchair basketball game. It was a really cool experience because you get to see how some people actually use this in almost their everyday lives.
A couple weeks ago, I called home on Drew. I wanted to give his parents a positive phone call on his attitude, his effort. He's just doing great in class. After talking to his dad for a minute or two, his dad said he does play wheelchair basketball. Would you guys ever be interested in having his program come out here, teach, raise awareness, everything about the sport to your classes? And I was like, absolutely. We have 24 wheelchairs that are specially made for basketball. The kids that signed up for it are all getting to learn how to dribble and shoot and play the game, but they're learning about what these athletes have to go through, how to get in the chair, the breaks, using your upper body only. So it's been pretty cool from an empathy point of view as well.
It was just really exciting to see how Drew and other people with disabilities play sport.
I think it's really fun to get them a perspective of what kids in wheelchairs have a perspective of. The hardest thing was probably getting the shot up because you are so low in the wheelchair. So you just got to use all the muscle you got to get it in the hoop.
My favorite part of this, well, it was just seeing how capable people of disabilities were, how they live their daily lives.
We've had a just tremendous outpouring of just support for bringing these guys in. I probably heard 20 or 30 kids saying how that was totally cool. When can we bring them back? The kids are really, really just buzzing about this whole day today.
I hope they think it's really fun, and I hope they can share the sport with some other people.
I love that story. The Explore videos are absolutely the favorite part of my job. I love working with Clayton to find those stories, and there are so many stories like that to share with our community that are in our district. I'm going to turn it over to Greg so he can give you an update on the website.
Hi there. Returning to the communications dashboard that Janet showed a few minutes ago, the 6 million web visits that we had last school year are pretty much in line with our last several years. So far this school year, our visits are up a couple percent, with a full percentage point of that due to our early snow day just after Thanksgiving.
You're welcome.
Yep, thank you. One thing that's been increasing notably for us over the last several years is the number of mobile web visits to our sites. This school year is the first one where the number of people viewing our district site on phones will outnumber visitors on computers and tablets combined. with iPhones making up a vast majority of those numbers. Of our public websites, the district's main site has the highest proportion of mobile visitors, followed by our preschool website and our high school sites, which leads me to think that our youngest parents and older students with phones are driving those numbers. As for our mobile app, downloads of it have already outpaced all of last year, but that 1,500 number is about where we'll end up probably, since most downloads occur in the summer in the run-up to the school year. Lunch menus are always the most popular item in the app, which is why its busiest day of the week is Monday. And after lunch menus, people frequently use it to launch home access and find contact info for our schools. A couple of years ago, we developed and released updated versions of the district and school board websites. We reworked them so they'd be more in line with our branding, so they'd display better on all devices, and so they'd load more quickly. When we presented last year, I mentioned that we were in the process of doing the same redesign with all of our school sites, and we just launched the first of them, the preschool site. Over the course of the rest of the school year and the summer, we redesigned and relaunched all 33 of our school sites. With the completion of that project, we're working on some new ones this year, including the following. First, a departmental content audit. Our main district website comprises over 100 permanent web pages, which themselves link to thousands of other documents. Some of our pages, like registration and school supply lists, change on a regular basis, but others have content that needs to be updated less predictably, sometimes to the point where we might even forget that they're there. As the years go on, these pages could run the risk of containing outdated text and documents, making the site harder to navigate and search. Occasionally, those pages no longer need to exist at all. So this year, I've been meeting with each department one at a time to make sure that the content available on our site is what we want to share and what our visitors are looking for. First, we're going over each page to make sure it's even still needed. Then we're evaluating the page's text and all the linked documents, and if necessary, we're adding new pages with information that hasn't previously been available. After this year's initial audit, it'll remain an annual task, but it'll go much more quickly. Finally, as part of our crisis preparedness toolkit, we've launched a stripped-down, text-only version of our website, light.ipsd.org. Our district website is already hosted off-site to protect it from going offline if, say, there's a local power outage. As a companion to that, we also wanted to develop something to help the stakeholders in our district access our most important, timely content at times when their own internet access is limited. If the weather's impacting connections, if you're in a building with poor coverage, if you're traveling somewhere with roaming, or if you have a limited data plan, you can still know what's happening in the district. I got the idea last fall when reading about Hurricane Florence. I found out that both NPR and CNN had light text-only versions of their sites so that people in impacted areas could still access information about weather developments. Whenever we see something cool like that at some other site, like a university, a corporation, or in this case, news organizations, we evaluate whether it has potential value to us, and this seemed like it could.
Not above stealing good ideas.
No, not at all. Yeah. Our light site contains headlines, upcoming events, key pages from our regular site, and contacted links. At the top of the site, which is in the slide here, you can see the current weather conditions and information on when the page will be updated next, so you won't feel compelled to refresh it every few seconds for an update. We already try to keep our regular website pretty slim. It takes about half as much data to view our homepage as it does to view the homepages of most of our comparable districts, but the light site uses 1% of the amount of data as our regular website. At times of crisis, we can share a link to the site via Twitter or email, and in a pinch, we could even make our regular website point to the light site. Our light site is live now for desktop and mobile, and we're going to keep optimizing it throughout this year. It's a standalone project, but I have a feeling we'll probably wind up integrating some of its lessons into all of our websites. As usual, we do all of our own web design and development in-house, so we're not paying any other vendors for the work we do. And moving offline, here's Lisa with an update on community relations.
For the past 2 school years, Community Relations has focused on supporting our students and schools through obtaining resources for students and families in need. Valuable connections have been made through serving as the district liaison to community organizations such as the IPEF, IPPC, Rotary, and the Chamber. Our department further supports students and programs in our district through grant writing initiatives. In the 2017-2018 school year, we successfully secured nearly $100,000 in grant funding. These funds supported district-wide programs such as robotics and an expansion of makerspaces in all 21 elementary schools. In this school year, we've secured $34,000 in grant funds with applications submitted for an additional $50,000 and more opportunities coming up. We also coordinated special projects such as Engage 204 and Portrait of a Graduate, as well as the first District 204 Alumni Directory. Since 2000, we've seen an increase in our low-income student population. Currently, we have nearly 5,000 low-income students in our district with possible needs. Our number of students who are homeless also continues to increase. This chart shows the total number of students who are homeless served in each school year. As you can see, we are only halfway through the school year, and we've already exceeded our highest number in the last 5 years. Working closely with the Teaching and Learning Department, we continue to look for ways to support our students, and again this year, we provided back-to-school supplies to students in need. As we have done in previous years, we worked with various churches and community groups to provide school supplies for our students. We were fortunate this year to have tremendous support from the Indian Prairie Parents Council, who for the first time ran a donation drive to support back-to-school supplies for our students. IPPC raised nearly $8,000 in just 4 weeks, which included donations from DuPage Credit Union and the Naperville Exchange Club. With their support, we were able to assist over 1,200 students by providing them with necessary items to start the school year off right. The Indian Prairie Parents Council again hosted their annual coat drive. IPPC collected over 700 coats and 175 pairs of boots, as well as several boxes of hats, mittens, and scarves. These items were distributed to District 204 students in need, with the remaining items assisting students in East Aurora District 131. We were able to provide Thanksgiving meals to 29 students who are homeless and their families through generous donations and discounts from Maison Sabika and Casey's Foods, as well as support from the Indian Prairie Educational Foundation. The recent holiday season saw the largest number of homeless families in District 204 that we've ever had. Through contributions from organizations in our schools and communities, as well as individual families, we were able to provide holiday assistance to 122 families who are homeless in our district. This is the largest number of families that we've ever been able to support. We are grateful for all the contributions to help make the holidays a little brighter for our families in need.
Cookies helped with that, didn't they? Cookies helped with that.
Another focus this year was creating the alumni directory. We worked with Publishing Concepts, Inc. to complete this project at no cost to the district. The data has been shared with the Indian Prairie Educational Foundation, and the next step is to support the IPEF in the development of an alumni newsletter with the goal of engaging alumni in activities and support.
And I would be completely remiss if I didn't end with a shameless plug to follow us on social media, because we want to see an increase in all of our numbers next year. So thank you.
Thank you. Comments, questions?
I have a comment. I have to say, you know, the reason people love your videos is because a lot of us have relatives who don't live in the U.S., so that's when you can send those videos to your grandparents and say, hey, this is what happens at my school, or this is what occurs, and that's where you get all those different people from those different countries looking at the videos. So great job on those videos.
Thank you.
I have a question about the alumni. The alumni book that you put, directory that you put together. How thick is it? And, you know, I mean, that's quite an accomplishment. We've been talking about this, I think, for years. So how many people do you have in this list?
There's 1,500 completed records. It's a pretty thick book.
Yeah.
And we're excited to share that information with IPF and help them develop an alumni newsletter. We think it's a great way through the foundation to be able to engage our alumni.
And so how did you go about putting it together? I'm just kind of, you look at old records from, how far back did it go?
So the alumni directory went back, well, Wabansie did one in 2001, so they had the file from Wabansie, and then we gave them the records of everything we had since that time. So I think we had about 40,000 records that we started with.
Wow, okay. Just curious, thank you.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I love the IPSD light. How are we going to make sure that people are aware? How are we going to communicate it?
Greg and I have talked about that. So in a crisis situation where we feel it would be really important to have that website available, we would do it through Twitter or through email. We're going to probably wind up promoting it in a few other ways so people can use it, as Greg mentioned, as a regular site if they want. So there'll be some information on our website. We'll probably share something through e-news.
Others? I just wanted, you have both groups here, and I love the interface. We network with each other for the benefit of kids. Communications, you wouldn't think we would have that other component of helping, the department that tries to get school supplies and works with IPEF. And as we were growing, we were kind of in silos. And now you can see some networking going on and people interfacing with one another, and I think it's just so very positive. So this was a good meeting despite whatever it's doing out there, I don't know. But so thanks to both groups, that's what we're supposed to be doing, and you guys are doing it, so thank you. Anything else? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a very brief board update. And that is, there's a LEND meeting on Friday in which DuPage new legislators will be there to meet the superintendents and some board members and some business managers there. And then again on February 1st, our meeting with Naperville 203 and Wheaton 200 will occur at Naperville North High School, or is it Central? One of the high schools.
I don't know that I've heard.
I think it was presented to us in one of the board updates, so just double check that. So 7 a.m. on February 1st. With that, I need a motion to reconvene into executive session.
I move that we reconvene into executive session.
Second?
Do we have to call the roll, Mr. Karubas? Or Ms. Horvath, will you please call the roll?
Yes.
I don't think you're
The meeting is at North.
Yes.
February.
I just looked that up.
We're
Mr.
both-
Karubas?
Yes.
Mr. Razak?
Yes.
Ms. Peel?
Aye.
Mr. Rising?
Mr. Rising may have fell.
Mr. Rising left.
Yes.
Ms. Deming?
Yes.
Ms. Grover?
Yes.
Ms. Donahue?
Aye.
Motion passes or recessed into executive session.